Hello, and welcome to my presentation on Netflix versus Hulu and how I did my usability test and what it meant. The goals of my testing were to compare these two popular video streaming sites, Netflix and Hulu, gauge user experience across the platforms, and learn from the users themselves what improvements can be made if they had the power and what their overall experience was like. My testing was structured to be realistic. I wanted my tasks to be applicable across all video streaming platforms, not just Netflix and Hulu, but I needed them to be at least transferable across the two. I wanted them to force users to explore features and accessibility portions of the site that they may not otherwise use or learn something new along the way. I also wanted to find out whether consumers were making their best consumer related choices, what they felt about them on a spiritual level whenever this was all said and done. These were my usability test tasks. They were all multi-part, so they had tasks and they had subtasks. For the most part, everything was pretty easy. Some key notes was that the second one really frustrated a lot of people because they would go to the search bar and assume that they could type in 90s horror, 90s thriller, and they could get a result, which is not the case. People wanted Google, and instead they got Netflix, which was not what they wanted, and you have to go through and manually look for your videos. And it's even worse on Hulu, because if you wanted to find out who the director of something was, you have to actually go into the video and look at the post-credits scene. The contextual inquiry questions opened up a dialogue between me and my users. They allowed me to have a discussion about what they felt could be improved, why they used these services in general, and what price points things could be explored as options. I promised my users that I would not show any video. So this is just a screenshot from one of my Zoom calls where we went through everything. And they lasted between 15 minutes to 45 minutes, just depending on how much we talked at the end. So what I did was at the end of my question, I would start my timer. And then from the time that they actually completed, that's when I would stop. And this is my data. I have means, I have medians, I have all this beautiful data. You will notice, however, down in Hulu, I have these NAs. The NAs are for non-completed actions. These were actions that could not be completed by the user for actual true service-based glitches, bugs. Cool things to note is that whenever you share a link on these services, Hulu generates these really nice link previews, and Netflix is just this big ugly mess of letters and characters down here. So it's prettier whenever you share something from Hulu versus Netflix. Hulu also got the edge when it comes to heuristics. So whenever you add something to your watch list, you have a nice plus sign. Whenever you remove it, it's a minus symbol. However, Netflix just has a check mark, which was confusing to a lot of people because it didn't think that check mark meant remove. These are my Netflix errors. So you can actually sort videos by year and title on Netflix, but it's hidden behind the grid view. You have to click the grid view and then you find sorting options, which only one user found. I didn't even know it was a thing. So the one down here is a multiple tab error that users experience on Netflix. The one on the bottom right, the Netflix site error, that just showed up sometimes, and you could refresh the page and fix it. But I mean, it was an inconvenience, but wasn't too bad. The no matching titles thing, so that comes up whenever users would try to search something sometimes, or they would access the movie tab. Instead of displaying movies, it would just say no matching titles found. Like there's no movies on Netflix. And refreshing the page fixed it, but it was still really odd. Hulu had actual true fatal crashes. So one of my users getting this prompt to put in his password, even though he was logged in. He was able to log videos, but he was not able to create a new user profile or the another task due to having to put in his password, even though he was logged in. The other one right here, the single sign-on error, this is what one user experienced whenever they tried to access the troubleshooting of their website, of the service. They couldn't go any further. The newly added TV, newly added movies, one of my tasks was to find out what a newly added thing was on the service. However, only 2 users had the newly added marquees on their site. The others didn't have it at all. They had to go to the actual Hulu blog to find out what was recently added, which was very frustrating. Also, if your Hulu account is tied to another service, you cannot upgrade it, nor can you find out what the upgrade offers, which was frustrating for users as well. My key findings was that Hulu is faster than Netflix, but people liked Netflix more. Also, Hulu had their fatal errors, which Netflix did not have, although Netflix was not free of bugs and errors as well. It should be noted that the users that did choose Netflix over Hulu are primarily Netflix users. people use these video streaming services on the daily. They're part of their lives, and all of them want better search functions, and all of them want more accessibility options. Only Amazon Prime Video is the only video streaming service that I found that lets you customize your subtitles when it comes to color, size, borders, that kind of thing. Everybody wants it though. Everybody needs it. All users found that this testing was important. They liked the thoughts and the process behind the development process of using these tests to find out what works and what doesn't for their users. However, not everybody liked the testing in general. But I mean, that's understandable. Not everybody is going to be enjoy being probed, especially I had one person who said that she felt like she was being tested. Even though I told her that I'm not testing you, I'm testing the service, she, had a negative connotation to being tested. So overall, there's lots of room for improvement across these services. You got to free up the clutter, you got to improve your search functions, and you have to provide accessibility options for your people. Also, language settings are hidden, and you have to be able to customize your experience. Get rid of that automatic play thing on Netflix and let people choose how to use their service. The end. And if you want any more expanded details, you can see my executive summary. Thank you and good night.